The millionaire invited the
You
black
thought this was
cleaning
a
lady
joke?
as a joke. She showed up like a queen, and everyone froze when they realized who she really was.
She
The grand
arrived as the
ballroom of the
cleaning
Whitmore
lady,
estate in
but
Bel Air
tonight,
buzzed with smug
she
laughter
owned the
as
room.
Grace Caldwell descended the marble staircase in a gown worth more than what most guests paid their assistants in a year. It wasn't admiration, it was mockery, sharp and rehearsed. "Look who actually came," snorted Thomas Whitmore, swirling his glass of vintage Krug. Our dear janitor, Grace, 37, had spent the last 3 years polishing every inch of that mansion, silent and invisible to the elite who treated her like a shadow. The invitation, embossed and dipped in gold, had been handed to her with the same cruelty she was used to. Formal gala. Black tie, Saturday, surely you own something elegant, Thomas had said with a smirk, triggering laughter from his entourage. He even invited bloggers and tabloid reporters, anticipating a night of social cruelty. 50 grand says she either chickens out or becomes the comedy act of the night, he joked to his wife Evelyn as Grace vacuumed near his study. But Thomas knew nothing about Grace Caldwell's past. She wasn't just a cleaner, she was once an heiress, born to a legacy he tried desperately to bury. Her mother, Clara Caldwell, had worn that very dress to her last gala before dying mysteriously. That same dress now draped over Grace's powerful posture as she floated into the room, each step echoing poise. "Where did she get that?" whispered Janine Harrington, wife of a real estate mogul. "Maybe she borrowed it." "Or stole it," replied Cassidy Monroe, failing to mask her jealousy with snide remarks. But Grace hadn't borrowed or stolen. She had reclaimed, and as Thomas swaggered toward her, flanked by business moguls and senators, he grinned. "Grace, what a surprise. I knew you wouldn't pass up a chance like this. I mean, for someone like you, someone like me?" Grace asked, her tone calm but razor-sharp. "Please finish your thought, Thomas." He stumbled, then chuckled, trying to recover. "You know, someone who doesn't usually frequent events like these." Grace's smile was icy. "I'm not intimidated, Thomas. I'm exactly where I belong." The room stilled. The air shifted. Thomas, sensing unease, tapped his glass and announced, "Let's give a warm welcome to tonight's highlight, our cleaner, Miss Caldwell." Laughter erupted and flashes popped as phones recorded what was meant to be her humiliation. But then came her voice, steady, unwavering. "This gown belonged to my mother," she said. "She wore it to a gala just like this, when she was still Clara Caldwell Whitmore." Silence dropped like a bomb. "Whitmore," Thomas repeated. "Yes," Grace replied, stepping forward. "I'm your half-sister." Gasps filled the room. Evelyn clutched Thomas' arm, eyes wide. "Your father, Harold Whitmore, had an affair with my mother. I was the daughter you pretended didn't exist. You cut off our support, sold our home, left us with nothing." Thomas turned ghostly pale. "You're delusional," he muttered. "You can't prove any of this." Grace reached into her clutch and pulled out a sapphire ring engraved with the Whitmore crest. "This was given to my mother by our father, the same man you claim died without an heir." Just then, 3 figures entered. Leslie Grant, a renowned journalist, Brian Chu, a top inheritance attorney, and Dr. Adler, the Whitmore family physician. 23 years ago, Dr. Adler began, voice shaking, "I was coerced into falsifying a death certificate. Harold Whitmore was poisoned." Screams, whispers, Grace stood still. "He had changed his will to include me," she said. "He found out Thomas had siphoned millions from the family business. Then he got sick." "You're lying," Thomas barked, but Leslie connected her laptop to the projector. Photos, emails, bank transfers, recordings. $180,000 transferred to Dr. Adler 3 days after Harold's death, she narrated. Memo, keep quiet. The crowd turned cold. Evelyn stood across the room, her face wet with tears. "And this," Leslie continued, playing a recording of Thomas's voice. "If she and her kid show up, we'll handle it. No need to split the inheritance with trash." Maury gasps. Brian stepped forward. "When a murder is proven, estates can be reassigned under the original will. We have that document. Grace is entitled to half of everything." Thomas crumbled into a chair. "Please, Evelyn, the kids." "You ruined this family the day you chose greed over truth," she said. Grace knelt in front of him. "You killed our father. You took my name, my life, my dignity." Thomas begged for redemption. There's no fixing 2 decades of deceit, Grace said quietly, but there are consequences. Sirens echoed outside. The LAPD entered, cuffing Thomas as cameras flashed. Grace walked to the balcony. Reporters swarmed. Cuffing Thomas as cameras flashed. Grace walked to the balcony. Reporters swarmed below. Evelyn approached her. I didn't know. I believe you, Grace said gently, but he made you a victim too. When asked by the press why she exposed it all, Grace answered, not for revenge, for justice, for all the people men like Thomas crushed to climb. 6 months later, she sat in Thomas' old office, now transformed. Family portraits were replaced with scholarship awards and community initiatives. The business was thriving. Employees now had health care, merit-based promotions, and respect. Thomas was sentenced to 27 years, guilty of murder, fraud, and tax evasion. His assets went to victims and charities. Grace had adopted 2 girls from foster care and lived in a home filled with laughter, not lies. Forbes asked her if she believed her revenge went too far. Revenge would have meant destroying him like he destroyed me, she replied. Justice is making sure no one else goes through what I did. There's a difference. When asked what advice she'd give others, she smiled and said, the best revenge isn't to fight evil with evil. It's to build something so powerful that the pain they caused becomes just your first chapter. And as she tucked her daughters into bed that night, Grace Caldwell, once forgotten, now a symbol of dignity, knew she hadn't just reclaimed her legacy. She had rewritten it.